This is Mike Levin, and this is kind of a take two for today with a live stream with getting blogging through the GitHub Pages Jekyll system smooth, given my one-page journaling format. So I love using Vim. Vim is a way of life, and using a single text file for a journal is quite important to me. I basically have a macro where I start to create a new blog post, and I can go hello world or whatever, do my blog post. I have a journal file like this for each of my websites that I'm starting to develop, kind of soft launching. And if I do this and say practicing Jekyll blogging, right? It's Jekyll blogging. It's crazy terminology out there, but that's what it is. And then I were to go over to my Pythonic ally directory, which I'm already in. I'm sort of drilled down. So to take that from the top, in fact, I'll take it very much from the top. I load a terminal program. You can see I'm in Ubuntu here. I'm in a virtual env for Python 3.10, and I put myself into my GitHub directory inside my Windows home directory. It's not my normal home directory for Linux. That would look something more like this if I were to type pwd for print working directory. Your normal home in Linux or Unix is /home/username, right? But because of the Windows subsystem for Linux, they let you access all your Windows side files from your home directory on Windows. So I have some aliases set up, and a bash login file that drops me where I want to be. So I put myself into this directory on startup, and I activate my virtual VNV. So that's why these things are so easy for me when I launch a terminal. Now I'm just one step away from CDing into whatever GitHub repo I'm interested in, and you can see what's in there. This is the directory here that all the blog posts go in. I only have one in there currently, but if I do a git status, you'll see that hello world that I did over there has already modified this file here. Whenever I see this, I think it's time to vim my git ignore and to put swap files in. Whoops. Vim git ignore. Oh, I don't have a git ignore there yet. So by putting swp there and dot swp like that, now if I do git status, that this file's gone. Of course, this file's been added, so we'll add that to our GitHub repo. Git add git ignore git status, and so now you can see we have a new git ignore file added, and then this has been modified. I can do git diff to show you that it is in fact that little bit of hello world that is the change stuff. So we can git commit, demonstrating journal homepage. So right now, these journal files, these single long text files, really manifest as the home page of the site. So you can see we're here on a subdirectory of the page, not a subdirectory, but a subdirectory of the site, which was the result of yesterday's work, where I got rid of or overrode the default, year, month, day addresses in there. I think that's sort of a waste. And in fact, the old URL, which I thought I was going to have to clean up, is gone. I got rid of the double headline thing because, there's this, well, let me cd right into host directory. There's only the one file in there, vim 2022. And so, whoops, I had the caps key locked down, so Q, make sure I get rid of any edits I did. So Here I have gotten rid of the headline because whatever's in title manifests as the URL. Now, the key thing that I learned is that in order to get the little byline in there, I had to edit my YAML file. I struggled in a video this morning, vim_config.yml. I had to add author : my name, and that gets used in the byline. Now, another thing I was thinking to do here is to change title to slug. It's going to be a little harder to figure out what my URLs are. However, it's going to get some awful thes and a's and stuff out of the URL. Let's double check. Oh, another thing I wanted to show here is that it's time for me to keep some new bookmarks over here in Chrome. I only had my sites that I edit for SEO, skin in game reasons, you know, walk the walk, if you want to talk the talk. But all my research had been done over here in Edge. So I'm going to take my Edge window, drop it over here where my Chrome window is. So I have Edge and Chrome on the same screen. And I'm going to take the research bookmarks I did yesterday. It's only 3 links in there, but it'd be a pain to manually move the bookmarks over. And I'm going to drag copy the bookmarks from Edge to Chrome. And there they are. See? Now I've got bookmarks that just seamlessly went between 2 different browsers. It's pretty awesome. I didn't know you could drag copy bookmarks like that, but that's good to know. All right, so I'm going to sort of consolidate my GitHub pages and publishing stuff under Chrome, and my everyday work is over there in Edge. So this is where I was doing my research. This is where I learned about the YAML file stuff like author. I can close that. I was researching the hacker theme. Don't need any of this. Bare minimum examples for YAML. That was really good to know. I'm going to put that in here. It's on YAML.org. It only makes sense, right? So I need to learn more about YAML files. They're a big deal now. Front matter. Okay, so let's see that thing about the slugs, right? That's going to be on the Jekyll site, but I'll just do a standard Google query here. That's going to be Jekyll slug permalinks. Okay, it's a URL that I was at before. Slug. Slugified title from the document's file name. Any characters except numbers and letters replaced as hyphen. Any character except numbers and letters replaced as hyphen may be overwritten via the document's slug front matter. So you can plug a slug in the front matter to control that URL. Yeah. So that's really what I want to do. I want to control it on a post-by-post basis. So I'm going to turn this back into title in the YAML. There's no reason to change it there. Now I'll CD into that post thing, and I'm going to first check the page again to see what that slug should be. Right now it's my first Jekyll blog post. Not bad, but I just need to test the slug feature. So that should probably be, we're going to edit the file in there. And I should be able to go slug my first post. Just, you know, simple little change. Git commit. Testing slugs. Git push. Well, actually, I'm going to do one more thing there. Vim that file. Testing slugs. So that I can see a change in the page as well. Git push. And that should be reflected. This URL is going to go away. This upper and lowercase one, that's actually quite interesting, right? Because upper and lowercase is an issue. They're technically different URLs. Microsoft doesn't treat it that way. Their IIS server makes upper and lowercase interchangeable stupidly, but Linux servers tend to make them as different URLs. And my knowledge might be a little out of date, but that's more or less it. I guess I'll talk here for a second. You can see the Google algorithm or whatever started to like really bless me, getting me up to 10,000, 7,000, 8,000 views per day. And then it just dropped down again to 2 or 3 times my normal level, which seemed to be around 700, 800. My new normal level, my low of my new normal level seems to be about 1,500. So I've at least doubled my traffic on YouTube. That's kind of nice. I don't know if it's the algorithm rewarding me or what, but let's go take a look. If I do a refresh, yep, 404, it went away. And so I should be able to go my first post. And there it is. There it comes back. So that slug feature is really nice. I'm probably going to be using that a lot. I can certainly do it programmatically. And speaking of programmatically, the real point of this video, you see, I always keep Jupyter loaded here. There's no reason to not have Jupyter loaded full screen. It's like your ability to think. So your ability to think first comes from Vim in screen 1, as you see me doing very frequently. I have a number of journals here. I can cycle forward and back between a journal per site. This is the journal for Pythonic Ally, and that manifests as the home page, right? So another thing I wanted to show you here, well, first I'll put this here because I'll probably want that again later. But if I go to the home page of the site, you'll see that new Hello World entry that I made. And so it's this one long file thing that I really want to change. I want to sort of slice and dice these into separate blog posts, and that should be easy enough considering Python, blah, blah. So that's what today is about. You take your deep breath, you see where you are, and, I've got I like to have 7 screens, 7 virtual screens, Journal, Jupyter, Edge, Chrome in this case. By the time you get to screen 4, it's an optional screen. Right now it's Chrome because of the type of work I'm doing. Slice and dice. Slice and dice. Should be simple, right? What we're going to do is we're going to go into, I'm in ML SEO right now. This is not a complicated project. So when it's not a complicated project, I tend to go to my practice folder and just create a new untitled in there. No, I take that back. Practice is not where I want to do this. Close that. Discard. Get rid of yesterday's work. Don't even need ML SEO. It's just the launcher again. Where I want to be is inside of Pythonic Ally because I want my paths to be relative to where you're at. So let's demonstrate what I mean by that. Whatever directory you're in over here, when you create a new notebook with a launcher, that's the directory where the notebook's going to be created. You have to pay attention to that. If you skim over that little fact, everything gets confusing because now things are relative to this location. So if I were to want to open a file inside of here, right, let's get that name. If I were to start to rename it, it's a convenient way to do a copy, right? So select all, copy. That makes sure we get the extension. We go back a directory level up, okay, where this untitled.py is. We'll rename that so it's got a strong identity. We're slice and dicing. Slice and dice. And there's that file. So we're going to just do a with open, right? Build into Python, right? As, and you got to say some sort of variable name, file handle, fh. So I'm using the context manager. This is one of the best things in Python. You don't have to reclose the file. It just closes it automatically when you unindent from under a with. And so now we have fh, and we can do stuff. It's usually stuff like, if we're to go for line in fh, print line, here's like the whole file. No, it's going to make a liar out of me. Oh yeah, right. Relative paths. It's inside underscore posts. So the whole point of creating the slice and dice file here is that from where I am in the underscore posts folder there. Ah, yeah, that's not even the one I want. I'm working on the journal file, which is index.md. So I don't even need that long name. That's going to be a throwaway name, although it is important to note the conventions that are used here. I'm overriding the conventions, but still I'm going to want to store the file names that way so I can keep track of when the posts were written and everything. And so it's, you know, as year, month, day, making sure we use 2 digits for each of these just in case I ever wanted to use the old or the default Jekyll blogging path system. The title converted into a URL and then a .md, right? So that's what I'm going to slice stuff into. Now, instead of opening one of the sort of destination files that I'm going to be using, I open the source file, which is index.md, right? Much easier. Still in the / location relative to where I am. Thank goodness that without using pathlib and other external tools, Python is able to distinguish, is able to use /. It uses Unix file location syntax even when you're in Windows, right? So you can have file compatibility, you know, cross-platform compatibility without lots of jumping through hoops, right? Look, that's 3 lines of text and you're opening and stepping through a text file, right? You can already see this project coming together. I just need to output a file on each of these blog dividers that I create. So how do we do that? This is for each line in. That's a decent way to do it. It's probably a pretty memory efficient way to do it. Memory efficient, but having it loaded all into memory at once would certainly make it easier, because, you know, we're going to be slicing and dicing. Maybe let's just output it on each time it encounters a new blog post, right? So you can see I have a few blog posts here as delineated by these lines. And the best way to do this is when it encounters a date line. So it's always going to be this sort of thing, and then there's extra line returns in there because of the way this kind of thing works. So I can fix that, get rid of the extra line returns. Line equals line dot strip, I think it is. Strip, trim, everything has its own way of doing it. But there you go. You can see it's tightened up quite a bit, so that's good. So now I can just look at each line that I encounter. If the line begins with yeah, it's always that number of characters, right? So I'm pretty sure it's 79 or 80 characters. One thing I can do is take a peek at my vimrc. Vim home.vimrc. I don't need to do that. Just look at the journal entry. cd vim index.md. Oh, it's loaded already over there. Shift 4 Yeah, 80 characters. I use exactly 80 characters in these things, and it's not surprising. Sometimes I think I use 79 to give myself a 1 character margin. So let's identify those, right? Go a step at a time here. You know, it's the this is the slice. We'll call it, you know, slicer equals. That is the minus sign 80 times. If line equals slicer, print hit. And we don't have to print the line at all. We just will see the hits on the slicer lines, right? Isn't that beautiful? So we're going to have to treat line 1 differently than, or the first hit differently than the others, because I'm not going to be closing the file from before. So I, comma, line in enumerate. Functionally no different, but you know, now we can say if not I, print first post. So you can see that's only encountered once on the first post. So we're going to try and output a file for each one of these. So in just the same way we did with open here, I might as well say it's for read. Again, that should make no difference, but it's important to point out because we're opening the source file in read-only format. The other files we're going to be opening in writing format, so we're actually going to have to put a similar line to this. And for experimentation's sake, that is, if line equals slicer, we are going to open a file for writing. I'll keep the hit in there for now. Now this time it will really go into that post directory we were talking about. And I'm going to make it an F string so I can just use the loop number. Oh no, the loop is for the line that it's up to. So we are going to need some sort of counter. Counter equals 0. Counter equals counter plus 1. There's more efficient ways of saying that, but this is nice and clear what I'm doing. So now I can use counter as the file name. But you have to throw an F here, and that's what an F string is. So you can use a variable inside of a string. It's going to be for writing. And we can't use file handle. This is going to be file writer, FW. And we can say FW dot. See if Jupyter doesn't let us down. These are the things you can do with a file handle here. Write lines. We'll just do a write. I'll just put foo in there. So each time it encounters a slicer, it's just going to create a file with a loop number that it's at. It's not going to be a 0-based index. It's actually going to be a 1-based index because I increment the counter above the writing of the first file. So that should do it. Without further ado, run it. Now if I go over to that directory, cd_posts, there should be a bunch of foo files in there. There they are, right? There's that original blog post, but here's all those other ones. If I vim3.md, it's just going to have the word foo in there. And we're stepping through the lines each time it gets up to those, it creates it. Very interesting. It's easy to create a file each time you encounter the slice, but the idea is oh, okay. Yeah. It's stepping through the lines. It gets written, but the outdent is an issue. All right. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. This is a good initial success. It starts to illustrate the slice and dice type stuff I'm trying to do. And I'm going to think through some of the logical issues here of how to wrap it up cleanly into separate files. Thanks for joining me. Hope to